So going by in the order of the ballot, it looks like Anna Brawley's here, and Carolyn will start timing if you'd like to start your intro, Anna.
Well, actually,
thank you, everybody.
Actually, Ari, did we want to do
Sorry.
kind of run a show what members can expect?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Real quick, everyone, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes of introduction in order of the ballot. So Anna Brawley, Brian Flynn, Mark Anthony Cox, and Andy Holleman, I believe, is who we have on the Zoom. After that, we're going to do a Q&A. Each member, each candidate's answers will be limited to 2 minutes, and then it will close at 6:30 to let everyone to their evening in respective meetings.
Well, I thought we decided on 1 minute answers.
Oh, I said 2 minutes. We decided on 1 minute. It's 1 minute. Sorry, everyone. Anyway. Anna, if you would like to get started.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody, and good to see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for being here tonight and providing the opportunity. A little about me. I am a professional planner by training. My name is Anna Brawley. I'm running in West Anchorage as a first-time candidate, but bringing over a decade of experience working in local government and working with Anchorage specifically. So I've lived in West Anchorage for about a decade, live over by Lake Hood with my partner, James. He's a small business owner and one teenager. We've got another teenager down in California now, so graduated in the spring. So good to see that. And just a little about me, why I'm running. The same reason why I got involved in Spinard Community Council 10 years ago and Turnagain Community Council when we moved into this area in 2014 is because I love cities. I love Anchorage, and I know that local government, including working with community groups like community councils that are in the charter, is really critical in where we can make the most difference. So really, I just jumped in and really wanted to make our community better. So some of the things that I bring to or will bring to the assembly, like I said, I have experience working in policy and local government, including in Anchorage, other communities around the state as well. I bring creative ideas. So I always want to, I have kind of an art background, and I love to, I love color. I love art. I love making things interesting. So always wanted to bring more of that to our city and to West Anchorage. I bring practical solutions. So I'm always looking for how we get things done. It's what I brought when I was the head of Turnagain Community Council, when I was on the board for several years as secretary, always just looking for, how we can actually move things forward. And then lastly, I bring independent thinking, not beholden to one ideology. So I really think that local government, we need to find solutions that work for everybody. So that's what I pledge to bring to the assembly. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Anna. Brian Flynn, you're up next, and Carolyn will start the timer if you'd like to get started.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. It's great to have the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Brian Flynn. I am a longtime resident of Anchorage. I moved here in 2001. Actually, my first house was in Turnagain. First place that I lived with my now wife was over in the Privilof Arrow area, and then we had another place over in the Beechcraft 40th area, and we lived there for about 6-7 years before we moved to our current place down in the Bayshore Platte area of West Anchorage. My background is in commercial real estate management, project management. I have worked at this since I got to Anchorage. I had the opportunity to kind of put on a lot of hats in commercial real estate, but the project management side was where I really kind of thrived because it helps me work to bring people together, bring ideas together, even ideas that I disagree with, to help move things along. That's what I want to bring to the assembly. I work well with people. I like listening to people. I like to bring those ideas to the forefront so that we can work to find the best idea from both sides, not one side, but both. And I would like to start to see some of that being used between the administration and the assembly. Right now, we have a lot of discourse, as a lot of us see, and it's not working for Anchorage. A lot of people that I talk to are not happy with the current progress, and I would like to see that moving in the right direction. So I would also like to kind of see the progress towards towards spending decreasing, tax decreases, and having some fiscal responsibility where we're actually seeing where the money is going and seeing what our return on investment is on that money that's going out. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Brian. Next up, Mark Anthony Cox, if you'd like to get started.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Anthony Cox, running for Anchorage School Board CT. Thank you for the opportunity coming out. So a little bit about me. I'm a product of the ASD that eventually went on to write some self-help books, got some of them into some Title I schools, and then I went off to join the military, the Army, and the Medical Corps. And then I got out honorably, and then was able to continue my education at UAA, become a Sea Wolf, get my undergrad and my grad from there. And now here I am trying to volunteer my time and efforts to take the system of education and make it better. Obviously, right now, we're at the bottom of the barrel, and I don't see us necessarily getting better until we have some innovative ideas and solutions that we implement, until we take a grasp of our financial situation, and until we hold those accountable for those who are not doing their job within the parameters that are given. So I look to bring my diversity of experiences, business background, and apply it to the Anchorage School District. I understand it's a long way up from here, but I have the energy and vitality as well as the vivacity to go after it for the sake of Anchorage. My motivation are my kids, and right now they're young, but as you know, parents and grandparents here, they only get older. And so my hope and aspiration for them is that they could have something that when they get to it, it gives them a value that is timeless, and all of us can be proud of the fact that we all put our time and effort and money into this school district, and it wasn't wasted. So once again, my name is Mark Anthony Cox, running for Anchorage School Board CT. I'd really appreciate your support this time around. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And up next, we've got Andy Holleman.
Thank you very much. I've been in Anchorage as a resident for 35 years now. I chose it. I like it. There's a lot of opportunity here, and at the same time, it can be a difficult place to succeed in. I retired out of the Anchorage School District after 20 years. Taught science classes at Diamond, technology classes at Golden View.
Andy, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Is it very faint? Is that? Sorry, I think that, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
No
you're
one-
better. You're better, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a leak.
Ariel, could we just have him start again, please?
Sure.
Since we had trouble hearing him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy. Can you start over, please?
Okay. I've been an Anchorage resident for 35 years now. I chose Anchorage and I like living here. It's a challenging place, but it's a place of great opportunity. I did take classes at UAA to get certification as a teacher and taught in the Anchorage School District for 20 years. Taught science at Diamond and worked some at East and Service, and taught computer classes at Golden View. Spent time working in technology resources for the district. I have a pretty broad understanding of the district because I worked with a lot of different parts of it. And a lot of Anchorage residents, I think, often look past how big the district is. But we are looking this coming year at about a $900 million budget. It's huge. There are a lot of different parts that have to function right in order for the district to get by every day. And by and large, we do that. We have some innovation. We have our immersion programs. We've got a lot of alternative schools. We have some great teachers in our neighborhood schools. And those things work for a significant number of our kids. Like every other part of the country, we struggle with kids that don't have good resources or support at home. Yeah, if you look at our well-to-do zip codes, they do better. If you look at our other zip codes, they struggle. One thing I do admire about Anchorage is our schools are very mixed. We have kids of all different income ranges in all our different schools. That provides an opportunity that a lot of places just don't get. But we've got to keep working at bringing that success to the kids that aren't experiencing it right now. And I work at trying to make the district function better in a rational and reasonable way. and we'll keep working on those other problems as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andy. Irene Boll, school board seat C candidate, just hopped on. Irene, would you like 2 minutes for an introduction?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I did not think that I was going to be able to make it, but like Andy, I'm able to make it from my car. Like you said, I am Irene Boll. I am running for Anchorage School Board seat C. And I firmly believe that we must prioritize public education. I think that it's an investment in our community. I'm confident that by working together, we can make a real difference in the lives of our children and create for them a brighter future by advocating for increased funding for public education, appropriate compensation and respect for our teachers and staff, and increased transparency and equity in our district. You can also learn a lot more about my priorities, background, and how to support my campaign at ireneboll.com. And that's spelled B-O-L-L. As a dedicated and passionate advocate for education, I believe that I can make a real difference in the lives of our children and my community for generations to come. And I also believe that we need representation like mine on the school board.
All right, thank you so much. I don't see any other candidates on the Zoom, but if someone hops on, we'll do a quick intro, but we'll transition into a Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for our candidate? It looks like Steve has a question. Steve, would you like to?
There we go. For the assembly candidates, I wonder if anybody has an opinion about what we do about moving forward as opposed to having to deal with all the conflicts with the administration as it's going right now. I have a sense of there is some sense of amusement with what's all going on, at least in this household, but does anybody have an opinion about how we move forward since we're spending so much time dealing with that, both in the media and people's comments?
And just to repeat, each candidate will have 1 minute.
Brian, maybe you could start since
I was just
Anna.
gonna ask, who do you want to start with? Well, I could say from my side of things that I don't find it amusing. I would like to see that both sides, the administration and the assembly, start to work together, find some common ground, and find solutions that work. We can't keep fighting back and forth, and while other items within the city continue to get worse and worse. The people I talk to are fed up with it as well. They see it in real time. Every time there's an assembly meeting, there's fighting instead of reconciling. And I think it's time for adults to take over. So I really do find that once we get some people in the room that can listen to both sides and find the common ground that gets Anchorage forward, that's what's worked before, and I believe that's what can work again. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I've definitely heard from a lot of folks that they're frustrated with what's happening, and especially frustrated that we're not moving forward on a lot of the issues that I think everybody agrees are important, like homelessness, or like addressing our vacancies and the loss of muni employees. I think those are huge issues for the organization. I think one positive is that we'll see some turnover on the assembly. We'll see some new faces. I think it's hard when you've got two sides that have been entrenched in the issue, and that's the way that it's been framed for the last couple of years as well, which doesn't help. But I think also it really does require folks coming to the table in good faith and really evaluating based on facts, again, not on ideology, and to really to ask what's best for the entire city. And so that's what I would like to bring, and that's what I've done in my professional work as a planner, building consensus and being able to move forward with what the majority of the community wants.
All right, those were our assembly members. So it looks like John Isaacs has his I saw John Isaac's hand raised, so if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Ariel. Brian, thank both of you and for Anna to come tonight. It's really valuable to hear from you. I guess one question I'd like to hear you address, if I understand correctly, your wife works for the administration and purchasing, and there could be a perceived conflict of interest with you being on the assembly and her being in the municipality. And I'd like to understand how you might address that as being an assembly member.
Yes, thanks for the question. And I addressed this in Spinard last night, so I'm happy to address it again. You know, there are steps and procedures within Title VII. Just to be clear that my wife is a purchasing director, does not steer all purchasing. She has a group of 13 that work for her that issue RFPs, ITBs. Those get reviewed by the departments that they're set up for. And then they have a consensus group that decides who the contractor is. Then that contract is reviewed and sent to the assembly for review for approval. If there were to be conflict of interest, if I had financial gain, if I had some sort of nepotism, there are mechanisms for me to recuse myself from the assembly dais. We see that as you might see with member Zalatel. Whenever she has a conflict of interest, she will name that conflict of interest, remove herself from the dais, and therefore, you know, kind of diffuse that perception of conflict. You know, there's all those steps are in place that it would have to be sort of I guess you would say, I would have to get a majority of people to actually to get on board with me to get something through that was, if people were to perceive it as nefarious.
Brian, thank you for your answer.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Diane, I see that your hand is up.
Thank you. I guess this is a question for everyone, but first we'll do the assembly and then the school board. And this is regarding the library and school and book banning. So I just want, I guess from Anna and Brian, I just want just a yes or no if you support the book banning in what's been going on with the library, or you just leave it to the librarians. And then for the school board, kind of the same question, because it is a big concern. Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer first if that works. Yeah, I mean, I certainly do not support book banning. I think that's fundamentally opposed to the idea of free speech and is basically government censorship. And I think that that's wrong. That said, I think school librarians are trained, you know, especially working with different age groups. So they have a lot of knowledge and they have experience, and there is a whole institution of library science that allows for choosing books that are appropriate for different ages. And so I would allow our librarians to make those choices and to support free access of information for kids in our schools. I think that's very important.
Do you want me to go next?
That would be great. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I was not getting out of order. So I kind of leave it to the director of the library, you know, to review books. You know, each director within the municipality is hired to do the oversight of their department, and the librarian, if there were items that needed to be reviewed or to be looked upon as problems, and I would refer to the librarian. And if there was anything that was looked upon as, you know, perhaps an overstep, then that could come back to some kind of review through either the administration or through the assembly to verify that there wasn't an overstep by that director. But the overall review should be under the discretion of the librarian. But as far as the schools are concerned, you know, I think that when you're dealing with kids, that you need to be a little bit more have a better review of what is actually being looked upon in the schools, and then I would look upon those librarians in the school district to review those as well.
All right, Irene, would you like to respond?
Yes, Zoom will work correctly. I generally oppose attempts to censor educational and library material, especially in a district as diverse as ASD, and especially when doing so is when the argument in favor of doing so is rooted in fear and misinformation. ASD has a process that allows any member of the community to request a reconsideration of school material, and they can do so at any time for any school material that they choose. In addition, the entire, like the book that started this entire controversy in the first place, was never available for students. It was in a professional collection of material in a separate area and off limits to ASD students, only for staff and teachers.
All right, thank you. Mark Anthony Cox, if you're ready.
Hey everyone. So hopefully we're not absorbed into the modern day rhetoric and how it's often used to weaponize against seemingly two groups of people that would work well together. So to answer your question, Mr. Santo, in regards to book banning, the answer is no, because there's such thing as, public speech, and, being the ability to have freedom of speech is something that we as armed members and veterans, we live and die for. So no to book banning. Now, the context which I can discern that you're possibly bringing it into for the public library's sake, obviously not, but librarians do have a duty to make sure that certain explicit material shouldn't be absorbed by children. Now, in regards to ASD, Irene Boll had hit on it, that there is a committee. The only problem is that this committee that reviews books are a bunch of people we don't know. And that's not necessarily too public in regards of how things should be dealt with. And it wasn't this book that you're hearing now was the original book that started it. It's been a little bit facetious in regards of how it's been working out for the school district. So I really hope moving forward that we can continue to not over-sexualize our children so that they can stop being statistics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Anthony Cox. Andy Holleman, if you're ready.
So ASD operates over 80 libraries, and they are aimed at different groups of students. We make selections about what's appropriate all the time, and what's appropriate at one level won't be appropriate at all levels. So there is selection going on, but no, I oppose book banning. It is the case that public education is being targeted by some folks. They are trying to generate anger about some of these things. And in the most recent case, it got a lot of attention. It was a lot of untrue things that were said about what was going on. So a professional committee, I think, is a great start. People have the option to appeal to the board and talk about it. We do have to be cognizant of what the community wants and what they'll tolerate. But again, I would agree. We don't want to sexualize kids, but we do want to answer their questions as they approach the right age. Overall, we've done a good job with it for decades, and we'll continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan, I've seen that your hand is up.
Thank you, Ari. I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Flynn. Sir, I'd like your comments on public education, since public schools, public education is the cornerstone of education. Would you comment on your perception of to what degree there should be vouchers, if at all, for public schools or for people that would use them? And how about funding? And what would you do to increase the viability of our public schools? Thank you.
Jonathan, thanks for the question. Overall, I believe in education as academic. I think the focus needs to be on academic and not administration. I would encourage that for vouchers or for the money to follow the student. If the parents didn't believe that they were happy with the education or the academics that their children were receiving, and I've always believed in that. I come from, I grew up on the East Coast in Connecticut. We had that program in the town that I lived in. We used to have the opportunity to have children from the inner city to come to our schools to help where they were lacking in academics, and actually we're producing some good results in that manner. So I would support that, of course.
Does anyone else have any questions right now?
Let's see.
Acting President Gleason, do you have a question?
Thank you. And I hope this will be really quick because we're about ready to wrap up this event. This is for Brian as well. I'm concerned that there isn't really enough accountability for this current administration and the multiple things that certainly have been brought to the public attention under this current administration, that the Assembly really has had no option but to deal with it in a fairly aggressive manner. And now I'm hearing criticism to some degree of the sitting assembly because they have had to take some tough stands and tough positions to respond. In the future, if you were elected, how would you perhaps deal with it differently than how the assembly has dealt with things now in terms of violations of code that our current administration has shown to go forth with? Thank you.
Kathy, thanks for the question. I agree with you. I think there needs to be more transparency by both the administration and the assembly. I don't like it when there's questions asked and there's no answers given back. It kind of it breeds distaste within the community. And I would like to see that start to work in the right direction. I think that it stems from mistrust between both bodies. And that's what I'm running for the assembly, to try and bridge that gap, to start to bring trust back to between the assembly and the administration, so that we can work towards getting those questions answered and the information that is requested out, so we don't go through these long processes of waiting. It's not doing anybody any good, and it's better just to be out in the open.
Okay,
All right,
thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much for hopping on. Thank you so much to the candidates for their time, their willingness to answer TCC questions, and their work during this busy season. We'll wrap up and let you all back to your evenings.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks all.
you.